Hi guys, in lesson number 1 we looked at our athlete data sheets and we indicated we created this sheet using our first and last name, the gender, the school's name, school code, and the event that the athlete will be participating in. We also looked at some of our keys, our key tables, our key data that we're going to be using in our SBA. Today we're going to be continuing to do that, and as such we're going to be looking at our school data key. Okay, so our school data key has our school code, the number of entries per school, registration dates or registration status, our total entry fee, calculation of our late fee, and the calculation of the amount that each school is to be paid. Now, in order for us to find the entries, well, we could search through and count all the numbers or the amount of times that a particular code or a school appears, but we're going to be using something more simpler. So we're going to be using a function to do this. And the function we're going to be using is our COUNTIF function. We're using the COUNTIF function because we want to find how many times PAHS appeared in our athlete data, how many times HHS appeared in our athlete data. And so let's look at creating this formula. Now the first thing you're told is that all formulas, all functions begin with the equal sign. So equal, and we're going to be typing count, and once we type count, you'll notice that all the functions relating to count or starting with count appears. So we just double click here to get. So now we need to select our range and our criteria. Our range, guys, is in our athlete data table, and we want to count the school codes, the number of times a school code appear. And so we're going to be selecting our range. So I'm going to select, and I'm going to select all the school codes going down. We want to make this absolute because we want this range of data to remain the same, right? And so we're going to be going over to our key table now, and we're going to be selecting our criteria, and our criteria is the school code here, PAHS, right? So that forms our criteria. We close our braces and we hit the enter key, and voila, we have 10. So PAHS appeared 10 times in our athlete data table. Now, spreadsheet is such a fantastic software. It prevents you from having to write your codes as many times as they appear. So all we need to do is to fill our formula into the codes. So now let's, right here, if you notice right here, you'll notice a little dot, a little box. We call it our fill handle. And all we need to do is to put our mouse pointer there. When this plus sign appears, or T appears, we hold down our mouse and we drag to fill. So the formula is filled into all the other cells. Notice that the range name appears the same, but the data for each cell changes because we did not make it an absolute cell, right? So here it is. HHS appeared 5 times, so did THS. MHS appeared 10 times, and so. And now, of course, you need to use the sum function to calculate the amount of entries that you have, right? And here the sum function selects the range of data. So we have 40 athletes appearing, with 3 schools having 10 athletes and 2 schools having 5 athletes each, right? So we enter our registration dates, and remember our registration dates should not exceed October 31st. However, as long as it goes beyond the 31st, you know that they are late. So you insert some dates based on how you want your registration date to appear. So now let's look at our registration status. And for our registration status, we want to determine if a school registered early or if the school registered late, right? And so to do that, we're going to be using an if function. So we're going to be using an if function to do that. So we're going to be saying if the date, the registration date, is greater than the closing date, then the school registered late. Otherwise, the school registered early, right? So this is what our if function is supposed to tell us, whether the school registered early or the school registered late, right? So let's delete this one and do it again. So we're gonna start with equal. Of course, we have if. So we're gonna say if registration date here is greater than our registration date here, and we're gonna make this absolute because we want that to remain the same throughout all the cells. If it is later, then we're going to return the value late. If it is not, we're going to return the value early. And so we close our bracket, we press our enter key, and it's early. And you use the same procedure to fill your formula to ensure that you get all the formulas without having to retype. Good. So this school registered on November 5, and so that means the school registered late, right? So here we're going to be looking at our total entry fee. Now the entry fee is calculated based on the number of entries the school sent to the event and the entry fee, right? So this calculation is done based on the number of entries that the school sent to the event and the entry fee, right? And you'll notice here we make it an absolute cell because it remains the same throughout all the schools. Now here we're going to be calculating our late fee, right? We want to determine if a school paid late, then they're going to be paying 10% on their fee, and the 10% is calculated based on the total fee. So here again we're going to be using another if function because we want to say if the school entered late, we want to be able to charge them. All right, so we're going to be saying if the registration date, if that is equal to, so we're saying if our registration status is equal to late, if it is equal to late, then we are going to do a calculation of the entry fee. So it's gonna be that the entry fee multiplied by our late fee penalty, and we're gonna make that absolute because we want it to stay the same throughout our cells, right? If they did not register late, then we're gonna be returning a 0 value, right? And so there it is. And of course we will use our autofill to fill our formula, right? And of course we go to our sum function and we create a total for that cell, right? The next thing we're going to be looking at now is the total amount due, and the total amount due is our entry fee plus our late fee. So it's our entry fee plus our late fee that gives the amount due. Alright, so let's move back now to calculating the rest of the data for our event expenditure. We had stopped at calculating our water. Now, so here let's go. Here, your SBA question paper states that each official gets 2 bottles of water, whereas each athlete gets 1. Okay, so we're going to be using the formula. So here our officials are our security officers and our marshals, right? So our security officers and our marshals, right? And we have 2 medical personnel. So all of these 3 persons get 2 bottles of water, right? So let's write that formula. So equal, and we're going to be adding these 3 fields together. Whatever the response we get, we're gonna multiply it by 2, and when we do that, we're going to be adding our total count here to it. So we're going to be totaling the security, the marshals, the medical personnel, and that will be multiplied by 2 because we need to ensure that each person gets 2 bottles. And so we want to put this information in a brace by itself, right? And so we put that information in a brace by itself. So now when we hit the forgive me, there should be no plus sign there, right? So when I hit the enter key, I should get this information. So I now have 76 because that's 10 plus 6, that's 16, plus 2, that's 18. And 18 multiplied by 2, right? And then we add, and that's 36. And then we add 40 athletes, that makes it 76. So we need 76 bottles of water, right? So let's look at our medals. Our medals, and here our question paper says that we are given medals for 3 positions. 3 positions, and there are 5 events. However, each event has a female, there's a female event and a male event. So even though there are 5 events, these 5 events are actually run twice. You have the females running in one event, in the 100 meter, and then you have the males running in the other 100 meters. And so our calculation goes like this. So here we have, and here we indicate the number of events, and this indicates the number of medals that we're going to be issuing per event. And remember, we're working with the female and the male, so we're going to be multiplying whatever this expression comes out to be by 2, and that represents the amount of water that we need for our event. In lesson 3, we will look at the rest of the spreadsheet.